Last year, I took you on a field trip to Petrified Forest National Park in northern Arizona. It was different from my usual field trips because I was in the car a lot. Usually I'm hiking around in nature or even walking around a city. However, the weather during this trip was rough. There were strong winds and it was cold. So I ditched my plan to hike and I chose to explore the park by driving along its 28-mile road instead. I got out at several overlooks to take photos and caught a beautiful sunset. I ended up having a great time, and you can see that field trip video at the link above. However, I promised myself that I'd go back and get out on the ground for some exploring by foot, and that's what I did a couple weeks ago. This park is quite large. You could spend a couple hours driving around and stop at one or two of the overlooks and have a great time, or you could spend days there and probably not see the same thing twice. The park covers well over 50,000 acres and includes a variety of landscapes. It's as though you're traveling through different worlds as you drive along the road through the park. And then there are the options you have for hiking. You can walk on maintained trails, or you can do backcountry hikes, or even go it alone in the huge amount of wilderness area. I did a little bit of everything. Let me take you on my day. When I first entered the park in the morning, I was lucky enough to get a hold of a permit for Devil's Playground. It is the one area of the park where you need a permit, even for day use. They give out 3 permits per week on a first-come, first-served basis, so I was really excited to get one, and that's where I headed first. The ranger gave me some directions on how to get there, which were pretty easy to follow, and then I hopped out for the hike. My research told me that the hike would be 7 to 8 miles, but I didn't really know what I was in for. There's not a lot of information on this place out there, but I knew that it was a cold but beautiful day. I'm in good shape and I had water and snacks, so I was off. I also had my Garmin GPS watch keeping track of my breadcrumbs, just in case I had trouble finding my way back. Plus, my trusty sidekick Raymond was with me. It's always a good idea to hike with a buddy. This hike isn't on a maintained trail. You follow National Park Service signposts, which are placed every so often. It's actually kind of fun to look for them as you make your way. And the area is so beautiful and solitary. Because you need a permit to go, you won't be running into a bunch of people. I saw one set of footprints, but that's it. What was funny though was that I occasionally ran across an old tire, or I could see a road way off in the distance. Anyway, it was so quiet and solitary. The hike ended in what is called Devil's Playground, which is a ridiculously cool spot where it seems like the varied geology of the Chinle Formation, which is the geological term for the area, are all mixed together. There are hoodoos and hoodoos in the making, petrified wood everywhere, large boulders, mesas where you can clearly see the layers of sediment build up. It's just crazy. In fact, everywhere you look throughout this hike is a feast for the eyes. Even looking down, there were so many different textures in the ground alone. There's dirt, clay, sand, rock, and animal tracks, birds, cattle. To me, it was all fascinating. So after what ended up being about a 5.5-mile hike, not a 7 to 8 mile hike, I arrived back at my car. I wasn't ready to go home. I was ready for more. So we headed back into the park to drive the road and stop for some smaller hikes. First, we headed to the Blue Mesa Trail. This area of the park really looks otherworldly to me. It's such a departure from the typical reds and oranges you see in the desert. It's all about cool tones. You can stand at the top and look down into the Blue Mesa area, but then on the paved trail, you quickly descend into the area and weave around in the mesas. That trail is about a mile long, and you get an up-close view of the sedimentary layers of the mesas, and you get a feeling of the scale of the mounds that you don't fully realize when you're viewing it from the overlook. I made one more stop at Crystal Forest. There is a paved loop trail that is about 3/4 of a mile long. The Crystal Forest area is all about petrified wood, giant logs of it. And in this area, they have the additional component of crystals somehow embedded in them. So when I went there in the late afternoon, the logs appeared to be shimmering in the golden light. It was ridiculous. I'm telling you, this place is magical. So along the road leading through the park, you can stop any number of times to see the varied landscapes of the area. I stopped at other places in my first field trip video. The link is still up above. Seeing this park by car is certainly no letdown. You can do little hikes. But heading into the wilderness this time was quite a treat for me. The national parks in the US are national parks for a reason. They are each amazing and unique. And I've only been to a fraction of them, but of those, I have my favorites. Petrified Forest is definitely one of them. For me, the petrified wood isn't even the main draw. Petrified wood is neat and kind of mind-boggling when you really think about what it is and how long it took to form. And there are some pretty astounding displays of it throughout the park. Did you know that it's mostly made out of almost solid quartz and it takes a diamond-tipped saw to cut it? But anyway, for me, it's really the sheer variety of landscapes and the unusual views, big and small, that make me want to spend more time there. So if you plan to take a trip to Petrified Forest National Park, do. You can learn lots on the National Park Service website before you go. You also receive a pamphlet and a newsletter guide when you enter the park. If you've watched any of my other field trip videos to national monuments and parks, you know that I love those brochures. They have tons of information on the different things that you can see and do. Plus, the park rangers are always really nice and willing to help. You can always ask me too. I am more than happy to talk on and on about my beloved great outdoors. Now, SnapChick VIPs. I shot a lot of behind-the-scenes footage that day when I was at the park. I have an entire video for you when you sign in at snapchick.com. Follow the link in the description of this video to the post. In that video, you'll get the backstory on the day from beginning to end. And everyone else, if you follow that link, you can find out more about becoming a VIP, and you can see one of my favorite images from my field trip on foot to Petrified Forest National Park.